So Panasonic has just announced new firmware update version 1.3 for the S1 and the S1R. So let's get into it. So what's up YouTube? My name is Glenn. I want to welcome you to my channel. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as that bell for future notifications. And if at the end of this video you did find it helpful, please hit that thumbs up because it definitely helps this channel out. And as always, if at any time during this video you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I love to hear from you guys. It encourages me to keep making these videos because, for one, I know people are watching them, and I also know that I'm able to help people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's firmware announcement. So Panasonic has announced firmware version 1.3 for the S1 and the S1R. It's going to be available along with those other ones, the GH5 and the G9, on November 19th. But I'm going to mainly focus on the S1 and the S1R since I am an S1 owner and I love this thing. So first on the list is expanded media compatibility. So they've added CF Express Type V cards. Those have theoretically, according to Panasonic, a new maximum of 2,000 megabytes per second, which really is much more than what you'd need on this camera, because a V90 is perfect for this camera. Although that could indicate that later on down the road they may be adding other features, because if they're giving you that kind of speed, you know, hopefully down the road they're going to be giving us RAW capabilities, or you know, hopefully some all-eye or something like that. If you guys would like to see RAW come out of this camera, leave it down in the comment section below. Definitely love to hear that. They've added expanded compatibility with ProPhoto wireless transmitters. So they've added the Air Remote and the ProPhoto Connect. So those of you who use ProPhoto strobes, you're definitely going to appreciate that, because now you have compatibility with that. They've improved the compatibility with Sigma interchangeable lenses and their MC21 mount converter. So they now made it possible to assign functions to the function button of the Sigma L mount interchangeable lenses. They've also improved the performance of the in-body stabilizer when attaching the MC21 mount converter. And they've also enhanced and suppressed roll movement when using that mount converter. I don't have that mount converter, although I'd like to have one just so I can try some different lenses. But I'm kind of just waiting for some more native mount lenses to come out, which is also one of their next announcements. So they've improved compatibility with Panasonic interchangeable lenses. It is now possible to assign functions to the lens function button when using the new Panasonic S Pro 70 to 200 f2.8. So that is an awesome lens. It's definitely expensive. Hopefully the price is going to come down on that some, but I definitely want to get my hands on that f2.8. I kind of held out on the f4.0 just because I knew either Sigma would be coming out with their 70 to 200, or I knew that, you know, Panasonic was going to be releasing this 2.8. Just didn't know pricing and stuff like that. So still might wait for the price to come down, or wait for Sigma to release their 70 to 200, because Sigma lenses are really awesome. They've improved the autofocus performance to where they've added autofocus plus manual focus when using continual autofocus. So before, if you were using single autofocus, you could autofocus and then you could use the manual focus. Now, even in continual autofocus, you can have it autofocusing and then you can fine adjust it with the manual focus. So that's a cool feature. And one of the biggest announcements that I think is going to be the most exciting for most people in this firmware update is they've now added manual exposure to high-speed frame rates. Yes, that's something a lot of people were waiting for. We had no clue whether they were actually going to do that. A lot of people kind of felt that Panasonic had crippled this camera because the S1H, they didn't want to make it too close in specs to the S1H, and which they felt was kind of a low blow. And I didn't like the fact that I couldn't control manual exposure, you know, when using the high-speed frame rates, which caused me not to use them a whole lot, just because, you know, I want to be able to control my shot and be creative with it and things like that. So now in all modes, you're able to control the exposure on high speed frame rates. Hopefully they add it to the same menu where you choose the rest of your frame rates rather than having to go to a separate high speed frame rate menu, so that way you can kind of do it on the fly. But either way, at least it's going to be there, so I'm super ecstatic about that. Other major improvements, it's now possible to select the card slot to save JPEGs that were developed in camera raw processing. Excuse me. And so I don't really use the camera to do raw processing. I'm sure some people do. And so now you will have the ability to be able to choose which card slot you want to be able to save those to. A function button can be used for checking the aperture effect while the button is pressed. So you can change your aperture and you can check to see what kind of effect that's going to have on your image by changing it and adding it to a function button. Disabling any physical operation can be assigned to a function button. So now any kind of physical operation that you do on this, you can put on a function button and be able to disable it. The autofocus assist light has been added to the focus tab of the video menu. So now you can have autofocus assist light if you need it. The luminance level of the photos, including 6 and 4K photos and post-focus images, can be set when playing them back over HDMI. Auto exposure can be locked with the autofocus AE lock button when auto ISO is set in manual mode. So now you have the ability to be able to lock the auto exposure. There were cases where blue clipping effects occurred in vlog recording. Some people were having issues where if it was an extremely blue saturated color that they would get some clipping. I mean, you can see I like blue here and I use blue. So I did experience a little bit of that since using Vlog, but looks like they're going to be taking care of that. And there were cases where after images occurred in Vlog recording. So some people were getting some ghosting and things like that when using Vlog. I never experienced that, thankfully, but some people did, and so that's been improved as well. So other than that, that's pretty much it. I know for myself, I'm super excited about the manual exposure on high-speed frame rates, but I want to know what's the biggest thing that you find out of this firmware update that's going to be the most helpful to you. Is it compatibility with new lenses, the ProPhoto stuff? I mean, there's a whole list of things here, as well as some of the stuff that they're going to be adding to the GH5 and G9. Those of you with the G9, you guys are going to be super ecstatic because they're basically turning that camera into almost a GH5. So super value for that camera. It kind of makes me wish I had a G9 instead of my G85, but maybe down the road. So other than that, that's pretty much it. Again, any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.